Hi, it's Kim Hamer with your You Matter Minute. Helpful ideas and tips on how to support a friend, family member, or coworker going through cancer, loss, or any life-changing event. Today, we're going to talk about murder. What to say to someone who's lost a loved one to murder. Murder has been in the news quite a bit lately, and it seems to be kind of tearing this country apart. And we know the names of most people who have been killed, but we forget that those names mean something to a lot of the people. Those are husbands and fathers and brothers and sons and daughters and coworkers and friends. And with all the conversation about gun rights and Blue Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter, we seem to have forgotten that all those names that we flash out there are attached to people who really love them and who are in an incredibly difficult grief process. So I want to talk to you today about what do you say when someone has been murdered. But before I do that, I want to read the names, and I really want to read the names of the Dallas police officers because we just keep hearing 5 officers, right? We don't hear their names, and I think that's dehumanizing. So first there was Christina Grimmie, who died the day before the 49 individuals in the club in Orlando died. She was killed by a stalker. There were those 49 people who died in the club in Orlando. We all know about Alton Sterling, and we also know about Philando Castile. And there's 5 officers. There's Michael Kroll and Michael Smith, Brent Thompson, Patrick Zamarripa, and Lorne Aarons. So, all those names mean something to a lot of people. And that's what I want to talk about today. What do you say to a family member whose loved one was murdered? How do you talk to them? So I took a very unscientific survey. I talked to 3 people who I know. One, her brother was murdered, one, her husband was murdered, and one, their daughter was murdered. And I asked them, what is most helpful to you? And in combination with what I know, here are the 3 things that they said. The first thing is, do not ask them what happened. I mean, when you really think about it, why do you need that detail? You need that detail because you're curious, right? And you need that detail so you can turn around and tell someone else, oh my God, I knew someone that was murdered. And I know, it's, we're kind of gossipy that way, and it just kind of is the way it is. But don't ask the family members what happened. Think about asking people outside of their circle what happened. In the cases of the people's names I read in Orlando, we all know what happened, and we even, unfortunately, got to see what happened. But that is not normally the case. So don't ask what happened. The second thing they wanted me to let you know is remember that the grief process for murder is way, way intense. Not only are you talking about someone, a human being came and took the life of somebody else. So you have to kind of wrap your head around that, right? But you also have to wrap around your head around a lot of cases, the murders aren't solved. And so those families don't know whether that killer is right outside the door. Is it a neighbor? Is it a friend? Does a neighbor or a friend know the person who killed them? There's all sorts of things that go on in the person's head. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. So the best thing you can do is just keep showing up and have a lot of patience for them. Their grieving process is very, very, very intense. The third thing they wanted me to let you know is do not get self-righteous. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to go avenge, and it's not right that he's dead. It's not fair. This can't be happening to you. And that kind of self-righteousness is very painful to be around. And all you're doing is adding to the level of grief of the person. So just don't do it. They don't need to be told that it's not fair, that it, shouldn't have happened, why their son, why. That is not something that they need. What they need is you to be present, is you to just hang out with them. What they need is for you to say, and this is the 4th thing they told me, was to say, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry for your loss is great. And it works. And make sure you use the person's name. Don't use the generic, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that your husband has died. I'm sorry that John is gone. Use the names. But the reality is, someone, a human being, on purpose took the life of somebody else. And now that family is dealing with the ramifications of that. And so there's nothing you can say, and that is okay to say that. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. This is tragic. Done. Nothing else needs to be said. The last thing that they wanted me to let you know, and this really actually goes for anyone who's lost, is share a story. Share a story about the person. Share about the time you guys were in high school and you got in trouble and the mom had to come pick you up. Share about the time that you went hiking and got lost. Share about this. Share about the stupid jokes that he would share that she shared with you. Share those stories. It has been 7 years since my husband died. And I got a fantastic email from a guy who I don't believe I've ever met him. He went to grad school with art, and he shared this great story about him and just, reminded me of how wonderful a husband he was and how wonderful a man he was. And the email made me laugh and it made me cry. And I was so grateful for it, because when you share a story, yeah, the person will probably cry, but that's not a bad thing. When you share a story, you are letting the person grieving know that, you know what, I miss him too. Grieving is so isolating, and it's so good to know that other people are thinking about the person who's gone. The second thing is, it's bittersweet. It feels so good to hear all those stories. How many funerals have you been to, memorial services have you been to, where you leave the memorial service realizing you only knew one dimension of that person, and there were so many other dimensions of him or her? Well, this is the opportunity that you have an opportunity now to let the family members know the other dimensions of the person who has been killed. So make sure you do that. And that's it. I really hope that we can find a way to have a conversation in this country, because running around with I'm right and you're wrong, or, you're right and I'm wrong, or whatever it is, isn't doing us very well, and it's not going to get better. So I think that the way we begin these conversations is we begin by taking care of the people, of the families of those who have been murdered unexplainably for no good reason. Whether you are pro-gun or whether you are anti-gun, whether you are pro-gay, I don't know if there is pro-gay, there should be, anti-gay, whether you are pro-police, you are either Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. The bottom line is there are people, there are family members who are suffering right now. So I highly urge you, I cannot say this enough, I highly urge you to please reach out to them. Twitter, Facebook, if you can find their emails, email them. Send a card, but let them know that you love them, that you think about them, and how sorry you are for their loss. Because that's really what's going to change this country, is showing that great deep care for each other. For more You Matter tips, please look below. There's a bunch of videos there, or there will be at some point. Also, please make sure you subscribe. I'll have a lot of tips here. We got some really great stuff coming up. I'm going to be talking to a woman about how to deal with grieving kids, and really quick and easy meals that you can make for your friend when you want to bring a meal to your friend. So we're gonna have some great stuff coming up. But the most important thing for you to remember is that you matter. You really, really matter, and your friend really needs you. So please step up. All right, take care.